A very good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are tuned in to the United Hotspot. We are here to discuss the dream team of Manchester United with all players fully fit. What should be the dream team for you? The dream starting 11 Manchester United should be rocking. Come on, share this video, share this link, because this is a conversation that is ripe. It is a conversation that concerns all of us Manchester United supporters, because we seem to be at a time when everything seems to be beginning to fall in the right place ever since the advent of the young boy Kobe Maino. This is the United Hotspot. Now, there is a lot of news that has been making rounds concerning Manchester United today. I think the biggest, for me, has been being able to listen to Kobe Maino speak. And I do love the PR team of Manchester United and how they know when to release what. And you can imagine the timeliness of that Kobe Maino video sending a message to our under-18 youth team that is playing in the FA Youth Cup in the third round. We are taking on Derby County. The game is on right now as we speak. It is still goalless. Perhaps I will be dropping in a bit with a few updates of the game. And the game is happening at Old Trafford. The lineup is out. The under-19, the United team has Harrison, Nolan, Jackson, Kingdon, Amas, McAllister, who is the captain, Fitzgerald, one of the Fletchers, Musa, Whitley, and Scanlon. On the bench, there is Miles, Davani, Ugeneye, Munro, Missin, Sharp, and Williams. Those are the kids that are starting. Well, it is so important for us to give attention, to pay attention to our youth team, because the future of Man United is in the youth. And I love that Kobe Maino was dropping a message wishing them well. Of course, they are his former teammates. He has now graduated. He's ahead of them now as we speak. But how important, going back to the conversation, the debate of today, how important is it for Manchester United to have a proper starting 11, and what should be the proper starting 11, the dream team for Manchester United? To be honest, the game against Liverpool for me gave us an idea of how Erik ten Hag has got to select his squad. I've been singing and praying and hoping that Erik ten Hag does it. I've been insisting that Ten Hag has got to start playing with two holding midfielders. This thing of playing one holding midfielder did not make sense. A single pivot has never made sense for United for me. Even when we've scored goals with a single pivot, we've leaked in as many. So it has always been a struggle. And I love to see that he eventually changed that and adjusted his ways and, started playing with two holding midfielders. For me, the Liverpool game was arguably our most balanced game. To me, it was even more balanced than the Everton game, whereas we beat Everton in terms of balance in the team. I thought the game against Liverpool was that. And for me, my dream team, my dream starting 11, and someone asked me, I think someone was commenting on one of the recent videos and was asking me to drop my dream 11 with everyone fit. And honestly, I will start with the players who are there. I'll add in a few players that I think could actually join the team in the future. So I think that for me is what we've got to do. But anyway, welcome to the United Hotspot. It's been a while since I've been live, and I hate it that I'm failing to be consistent, because my sound does one right thing. I don't know whether I've got to change what I've got to overhaul. I've tried to change things, but my sound is still struggling with consistency. But we will figure it out, without a doubt. We will figure it out. But let's get proper into this whole dream team. But as we talk about the dream team, we've got to know that Manchester United is expecting the arrival of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And this is so important, because whatever we think about as United supporters have got to depend on the arrival of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because he's the man who is going to be in charge of football at Manchester United. When it comes to all football matters, he will be the one calling the shots. So whatever we dream of, the dream team we want has got to be assembled by him. He has got to oversee it being assembled. So what we hear now is that perhaps before Christmas, and that means before the end of next week, we will be hearing an official pronouncement of Sir Jim Ratcliffe as the new man in charge of football matters at the club, after buying a 25% stake for just under £1.3 billion. Now, we've said that, we've had that story so long, it's becoming a song maybe many of you are beginning to get tired of, but we can't unfortunately get tired of it, because we need to follow up on it, because it determines where we are going as fans, what we are going to see eventually, whether we should be excited or not. And honestly, it has dragged for so long. We thought by this time it would be done. We didn't want to enter the new year still with the uncertainty of the whole, Jim Ratcliffe and Football Matters takeover situation. But it's likely that we could get there, perhaps because of the processes. But what I sort of believe is that behind the scenes, I think these people are already working. The formalities might be going on, yet to be done, but the reality is Sir Jim and his team, he has already assembled his team. I know for a fact that John Matter, as we speak, is reported to be in Saudi Arabia trying to seek deals to buy certain players from Man United. And there have been talk of so many players that United are willing to offload as early as January. From players like Rafael Varane, that will spark a debate, because I'm seeing already people saying Varane shouldn't go. You can give your opinion on that, on whether Varane should go or stay. But Varane is among those who are believed to be surplus to requirements. Never mind him putting on a man of the match performance against our biggest rival in Liverpool. The reality is, and I'm one of those who think, yes, that good performance is good enough for us to hike his fee to any Saudi team that is wanting. Because the thing is about Varane is we are not letting him go because he's a bad player, but because he's not a consistent player when it comes to fitness. And perhaps that might not change. But you don't want to keep players around who will not give you a significant number of games. His fitness has proved to be a big problem. Unless that can be solved, and we are sure he will be fit consistently, then perhaps then we can keep him. But for me, I think Varane is one player that can go. We could get perhaps just over £30 million from Saudi for him, for Rafael Varane. I think that would be a decent fee, but also most importantly, we would be releasing our wage bill. That is a bit heavy. We pay nearly 290 million pounds per year in wages, or close to 4 million pounds per month. That's how much we're paying in wages. So we want every player to give us proper value for their money. So for me, Varane, the value for money is not in a one game. Maybe he plays two and he's injured for 5 or 6. I feel we can lose him. So there is also talk of Casemiro. It is believed United are willing to cash in on Casemiro, still in the same boat as Varane. Of course, for Casemiro, it's a bit difficult because when Casemiro is fit, he's an important player. And with the excitement we have with Kobbie Mainoo, you'd want to see how Casemiro would look playing alongside Kobbie Mainoo. So that, again, I'll give you my 2 cents on Casemiro and whether I still think he should go. But I'm one who is for the future anyway. I'm one who is thinking for solutions that are more long-term, that are going to give us players who will be there for the greater good. For me, I'm for that, to be honest. But you think about the whole situation and you feel we are in a good place now. We look like we are in a good place for us to start to seriously take on the transition. But certain things are still holding us back, like the whole Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing. By this time, imagine if we are already clear on who is the director of football, who is running what things, new CEO already in. I think we would be, even this season, would be one we would be hoping to salvage. For now, it would be too much to ask these players to think that we can salvage this season and finish in a better place than we did last season. I don't want to discourage you by saying finishing in the top 4, because then that would mean I've given up on this season, which I haven't, because the opponents, those ahead of us, are not really that good themselves. They're only getting worse, actually. So the thing with the whole Jim Ratcliffe thing has got to be over and done with if United is going to move and shift. We are in a good place, but this whole Jim Ratcliffe thing can drag us and affect our performances on the pitch eventually. But going back to the dream team, I'll go proper, and I would want to pick your mind in the comment section. You could let me know of which players you think are supposed to be mainstays in the Man United team. Honestly, the Liverpool game opened our eyes to a couple of things. For example, you don't think that Bruno Fernandes is, generations ahead of Scott McTominay. If anything, we played well without Bruno, and it's not the first time. Several times we've looked like we play better without Bruno, the captain. So again, that should open your mind or your eyes to something that maybe this squad is still a squad that is being discovered. There are no players, perhaps with the exception of Kobbie Mainoo, there are not so many other players who have really warranted a definite start for themselves in this United team. So there is a lot of work to do for everyone. keep it to warrant a starting place. Christian Eriksen is also itching to return. He's expected to return this month, by the way. And just to give you an update about him and his injury, he has missed 7 games across all competitions for United ever since he suffered that knee injury in that game against Luton, the 1-0 win in November. So he's been in the group session for the first time since his post-recovery. He was training on Monday with the group, so that's a good thing to see. So probably he will be. He's frustrated that he's not playing, but probably he will be returning soon. It's actually expected that he could be returning on the 23rd of this month. That is Christian Eriksen for you. That's the update on him. So you see that the squad has, when the whole squad is fit, there is a semblance of depth in Man United, and this is something we've been talking about for the longest time, the lack of depth in Manchester United. And all the teams that have competed for big titles always have depth in them. And depth means you've got players on the bench that are almost equal as good as those starting. You look at the Man City, the dominant Man City, and you would struggle to see what the second 11 is. With Manchester United, to be honest, even the team that traveled to Liverpool probably on paper looked like our weakest team, but gave us our best game. But the reality is the Manchester United squad had been made, because of injuries, has been made to look thin, yet it's actually a big squad that on paper should have depth in it. So when all players are fit, this for me would be my dream 11. And I'm going to give it to you in two bits. One, the one that I'm trying to sit in the mind of Erik ten Hag. The first one, I'm trying to sit in the mind of Erik ten Hag, knowing how he's obsessed with certain players. Then the second is what I think would be the ideal for me, personally. What would be the ideal starting 11 for Man United? Without really relying on what I think Erik ten Hag to do, without trying to be into Ten Hag's mind. But I also will include in some players who are there first. But my second squad will include potential signings that we could have. Now, I'll start off with a goal. Of course, Andre Onana, obviously, for me, in our dream team. Whereas certain people had given up on Onana, I don't think really we can afford to say that Onana has failed at United. I think the reality is many of our players have been bad, and like I've been saying, you don't expect a world-class goalkeeper to play behind third or fourth tier players, and they are not exposed. They are certainly going to be exposed, and the more they are exposed, the more likely they are to concede goals, but also the more likely they are to get them, jittery and lose confidence. So that looked like the case for Andre Onana. When you had a solid backline with Varane and Evans, and of course the two holding midfielders, Amrabat and Maino, we saw that Onana was solid. He put in a solid performance. He could have easily been man of the match in that game had it been for the outstanding performance of Rafael Varane. So that shows you that I think, like I've been saying, he's a world-class goalkeeper. I've insisted. He has made errors, but they are not errors you can entirely blame on him. He was too exposed when we were playing with a single pivot. He was too exposed, and you would expect him to struggle, obviously. Now, so Onana, for me, it should be starting in goal. The back line is where then we can have issues. Of course, on the left, I still think Luke Shaw is still a better left back than many, not even just at United, but in Europe. There are not so many brilliant left. So a few young players, I think the what's his name, Doku, the Galatasaray left back, he looked good and solid. But I still think for now we can still wait with Luke Shaw. He just returned from a long injury layoff, and perhaps he's not 100% where he's supposed to be, but I'm sure he can come. And he's only 28. I still think he's ripe, and he's still solid as a left back. So Luke Shaw, for me, I think we can still, if he can keep fit, I think he can still be our dream left back. Then in the central defense, Lisandro Martinez is, for me, without a doubt, our best centre back when he's fit. His attitude, his character, but also knowing the manager Erik ten Hag and how he loves to play with a left-footed centre back on the left-hand side of the central defense. he's his guy. That is why at times he has put Luke Shaw there, and for him it gives him balance. And indeed it does, because Luke Shaw plays there decently well. So Martinez should be the starting with all, and I'm giving you my dream team with all players fit and available, because my team will include some players that might, shock you a bit. So Martinez should be the starting left back. He's ripe, he's young, he's only 26, I think, or 25. So he should be there. Now, next to Martinez, and this is where the debate, if you watched one of my earlier videos, I was asking whether, in your view, who should we sell or who should we keep of Harry Maguire and Rafael Varane. And I gave you my 2 cents. I think Varane is good, he's probably a better player, but we should sell him and keep Maguire. Maguire should be the starting centre-back together with Martinez. Now, why? Maguire, I think, is one player who's if someone who has seen the worst and gets themselves, fights their way back up, is always going to fight to stay there. Will have a bigger drive to be able to perform and stay there. I don't expect Maguire to ever make the mistakes he made. Not that he will never make a mistake again, but I don't expect him to ever make the howlers he made, the terrible mistakes he made before during that period of his ordeal when he had to be stripped of captaincy and humiliated like that. I think he has seen the worst and has fought through the worst, and we've been watching him fight through it. We've been there and backing him. So for me, I think it is only right. He has earned his place back. He's winning Player of the Month accolades. You cannot afford then to bench such a player. I think then that looks personal, and there should be nothing personal against Maguire. He's been professional. He has kept the right attitude. He's a typical Manchester United player. And for those who are actually attacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for making him captain, I think now that he's not captain, you can actually see the leader in him. Because many will tell you, at times when he's on the pitch, he's doing more captain duties than Bruno. Bruno is mourning. So, for me, Maguire and Martinez should be the central defense partnership we think about for the mid-term. Not really long-term, because Maguire as well is over 30. But for the mid-term. Because we don't want because he gives you more games consistently, but also in terms of play and how Erik ten Hag wants to play. I think Harry Maguire fits in well because he's a pass of the ball. He directs the team from behind, which is good. When he's confident, Maguire is a passer. He's a proper, balling centre-back. So for me, that is good with his interceptions. He's firm on the ground. You've seen him last month. I think what we saw in November, the Maguire who won the Player of the Month, is the Maguire we signed for 80 million. So, for me, Maguire is there. Now, the right-back position is one that I feel, and with the players we have currently, and I'm seeing Diogo Dalot growing increasingly becoming the favoured one ahead of Wan-Bissaka. But I personally think we have a problem in the right-back position because Bissaka, who should be the better right-back, has actually fallen below the pecking order since getting that injury, and it doesn't seem like he's going to get back to the levels we are hoping he would be at now. Maybe if he will, but do we have the time to wait when we are still relying on Dalot to come in and, Dalot is not solid really. He's not as solid a right-back. Yes, he gives you a bit of something going forward. I feel like our biggest problem now is actually the right. We have a bigger problem in the right back than we do in the central defense. Yet we are all thinking a centre back was our biggest problem. But I think actually, if we have 10 million to spend in the next summer and we have to spend it on one player, on one position, I think it would be a right back. That's what I would think. We need to bring in a solid right back, and that's where I would bring in Todibo. We bring him as a right back, but knowing that he can also play as centre back, because again, even in centre back, we are not 100%. But the immediate issue that for me I think I'm seeing is the need for a right back. And I'll tell you more why I think we may not worry so much about the centre backs. I think the centre backs we have for now are decent enough to push us through until the end of the season, and maybe until the summer, when we can then think, if we have sold players, have money to go on and bid for younger players who are for the longer, greater good. But for the right back, for now, with the players who are there, I would still choose Bissaka over Diogo Dalot, never mind what Dalot gives us in terms of attack. Then, in the middle is where I'll be interested. Now, of course, we have Kobbie Mainoo now, who is obviously supposed to be a starter on the team. I've been saying if Maino is fit, he should be starting. He shouldn't be coming on as a substitute. Now, that's how I would look at the midfield. So you've got a midfield of Kobe Maino and Casemiro in a 4-2-3-1. And then, of course, Captain Bruno as a number 10. You don't expect Ten Hag to drop Bruno when he's fit. Højlund up top, Garnacho on one flank, and Mason Greenwood on the other. I am putting here Mason Greenwood because I don't want to, I have no reason not to, because he's still our player. He's only on loan, and we can call him back from his loan anytime we want. So, for me, Greenwood, who should be half fit, is better than all the forwards we have. So a half fit Greenwood is better than a fully fit Anthony. He's better than a fully fit Marcus Rashford. Better than a fully fit Garnacho probably. For me, he should be back in the team. Why not? He's our player. Did he kill anyone? Why isn't he in the team? And those are the questions we should be asking. But going back to the midfield, 4-2-3-1 with two blocking midfielders or a double pivot is the perfect balance for Manchester United. Of course, like we saw in the Liverpool game, that looks like it takes away from our attack. And then that's not Erik Ten Hag. It's not his identity. He wants to play proactive football as the one attacking. But if you have Maino and Casemiro, both of them have got attacking instincts. Maino, being a Brazilian, I think it's in his blood. Rather, Casemiro, I think it's in his blood being a Brazilian. He will always dash forward, and you know that he will be covered by Maino. But also Maino can play those good passes like the one he gave Garnacho from anywhere, from deep, from wherever you put him, he will play those passes. So I feel like Casemiro and Maino would give us a better balance, whereas they are defensive midfielders, they would give us a bit of more balance going forward because they are both perhaps better passers of the ball than Sofian Amrabat, but also they are, I think, more technically gifted than Amrabat, to be honest. I think Amrabat just runs and runs, but it is not really your most gifted player. He does the basics, the obvious. Then Bruno in number 10, not that he would be my best option, and I'll give you later what the idea. I told you I would first give you my squad based on the players we have, but then I'll give you, but also thinking of how Ten Hag would think. I'm trying to think like Ten Hag, but also give you what I think should be the drastic, maybe long-term dream team for United. Subscribe as you stick around. Now, so then up front, you've got Rasmus Højlund. Bruno in the number 10, there has been a debate there. I've been telling you, trying to compare Scott McTominay's performance in that one game he played as the number 10 to Bruno's so many games where he's part of the dubious start that has failed to provide enough balls or passes to Rasmus Højlund. Yet in that one game, Scott had a good pass to Højlund that could have ended, in a goal. But the thing with Bruno is, I think he's not really, how should I put it? Bruno is good. He's an important player. He's a very good player. But I feel like he's all over the place, and that this focuses him away a bit from doing his duty. And you can pardon him because maybe he has been doing so because as captain, he was trying to take responsibility for the Scott McTominays who are never tracking back enough, trying to support Amrabat who at times was caught in the wrong places. Maybe that is why he failed on his assisting duties as the number 10. Now that we have Maino there and maybe Amrabat who could be in the place where you see Casemiro or Casemiro himself, then Bruno has got them to focus completely on doing the duties of the number 10, doing the things we know he can do, things that Mesut Ozil did at Real Madrid, at Arsenal, and everywhere he has played. A number 10 is supposed to be playing those killer passes, like the killer pass we saw Kobe Maino play to Garnacho, like the one pass that Scott McTominay played to Rasmus Højlund, and a couple of those. So I think, yes, we can give Bruno a chance, but he has got then to improve. He has got to prove himself as a number 10 because you don't have two good world-class holding midfielders behind you as a number 10, and you don't deliver because they make it easy for you. That is what I would think. So that's the reality for me. Then away from that, so that would be my thinking as now for Greenwood, and I'm putting Greenwood there because, like I told you, he's our player. Why not? We are going into a January window. we should call him back from his loan because he's clearly better. He has scored, 4 goals already and 3 goals and assisted 4 in about 13 games. He's good enough. He's better than these Antones. So if Greenwood is there, imagine how our attack would look. You've got Bruno playing behind Hoyland, Bruno sandwiched by Garnacho and Greenwood. Imagine that pace. Then you've got a Luke Shaw who can fly in with crosses from the left. Where there is Bissaka, a few times you would expect Dalot to be there, meaning he would be adding to the crosses from the right. But with Greenwood there, you don't need an overlapping right back. That's why I would keep Bissaka there if Greenwood is playing, because Greenwood can ably, single-handedly man that right wing alone, and he will give you goals and assists that you guaranteed. He will give you shots. He will give you shots with the right, with the left. So for me, that would be the obvious, with all players fit and back. That for me would be the obvious starting 11 for me. But if I'm to go a little overly technical, let me be now Erik ten Hag, a tinkerman. Our best player currently, Kobbie Mainoo, is actually best as a number 10. Now, this might look unserious because we see how Mainoo has solved the defensive problem for us. But in the long run, Kobbie Mainoo should be played as a number 10. That pass he gave Garnacho should give you a glimpse, and there is a pass, I think, or 2 times when he gave 2 nice passes in the box. Those should give you a glimpse of what this boy can do when he's closer to the goal. He can even shoot at goal. Mainoo is more dangerous as a number 10. Just that he's so technical and brilliant that as a holding midfielder, it's even easier. But as a number 10, that boy will keep any team at bay. Even if you are playing Man City and you have Mainoo as number 10, they will plan for him. So, my dream ideal 11 would be this. For me, this is the 11 I would really root for. Andre Onana in goal, Harry Maguire and Martinez, Shaw on the left. Now, I told you of Todibo. Let Todibo come in not as a centre-back, but as a right-back. On the right, support on the right back to make it firmer. Then there I think we would have nearly a world-class defense. If all players are fit, I think with Onana in goal, Onana would give us the best of Onana because he has got nearly 4 world-class players ahead of him. Now, in the middle, in our 4-2-3-1, the 2 holding midfielders have Amrabat blocking on the left, let Casemiro block on the right, let Mainoo displace Bruno. Mainoo as a number 10, then you can either, and I'm only pushing Bruno on the right because I know it's difficult to bench Bruno. And does it deserve to be benched? Maybe not yet. Not yet. It's difficult, like I said, for anyone to bench Bruno. But because your best player can give you his best as a number 10, push Bruno to the right, because Bruno is not our best player now. He's not our most important player now. Our most important player is Kobbie Mainoo, and his best position is the number 10. So we want goals, you want a balance. You've got Amrabat and Casemiro. If you play them as the 2 side-by-side sitting holding midfielders, leave the rest to Mainoo. He will open up the defense as a number 10. He will do magic there. Him and Kobbie and Rasmus Højlund, the way he holds up play, the way he plays those 1-2s, I will tell you there will be goals in that team. There will be so many goals because Mainoo will open up spaces and Højlund is so smart. I feel like Mainoo can play well with Højlund. Mainoo can play better with Højlund than Bruno does because, like I said, you saw the dubious stat that showed that our Rasmus Højlund has had the least passes at him of all starting strikers. So meaning Bruno has not been doing his job. So why not try to push him on the right because he has played there anyway. I'm one of those who never wants to see him playing on the right. I've never wanted it. But with Mainoo there, Bruno cannot be number 10 if Amrabat and Casemiro are both fit. If Amrabat is fit and playing good enough, he's still not at 100%. He still has got to convince us that he deserves to be signed permanently because there is an obligation we've got as United to sign him. But I think if he's good enough, if Casemiro returns fit, and of course, obviously, Casemiro will be fit enough to start, he should be a starter, then my thinking is let's try Amrabat and Casemiro as the two holding midfielders and put Maino in number 10, and you will see what they will call a party. But also you realize that pushing Bruno to the right, playing with Maino as number 10, could actually improve Bruno. He could even be more effective on the right. He could be more effective on the right, because that boy Maino will make him even better. He will just organize. He has organized our defense, our defensive departments. He will also organize our attack, because again, one of the other weaknesses we've had is the lack of patterns. That whenever we start a few passes, the final pass is where we miss it. The final ball. Now we know that Maino is inch perfect. His final pass will be on point, so it will be the last person to fail to deliver. But if he keeps giving them those nice final passes, eventually you know Højlund will score, because Bruno has failed. Bruno and Co have failed Højlund, so try out Maino in that space. So for me, that would be the ideal dream team. Without bringing, realize that dream team of mine has got only one new signing. That is Todibo. So in Jan, if we are going to sign a player, my thinking now, again, I'm assuming Casemiro returns and is fit. There is no money to buy so many players. I also don't think we need to buy so many players in January. We need to wait until the summer. So for me, I'm looking at this squad to take us until the end of the season. When everyone is fit, I think for me, Casemiro should be starting. Varane should be coming in certain games that I think would require his experience and all when he's fit. But in the long term or even mid-term plan of United, Varane shouldn't be there, because he is not a consistent player. He is not going to be consistently fit enough to play in the Premier League. Now, if Greenwood is back, I wouldn't mind putting Bruno on the bench and replacing Bruno with Greenwood. Yeah. If Greenwood is back, why not? So, for me, I feel like Kobbie Mainoo alone, and I've been singing this, I feel like Kobbie Mainoo has made us, and this is what I said in my video where I was trying to compare him with Jude Bellingham. This boy has actually shown us that we have different problems to deal with, but also he has shown us that we are not as bad as we looked in certain games. That is what I think. That's what Kobbie Mainoo has done. He has shown us that actually this United team is not as bad. We just lacked the right player, because any team has got to have that one smart player in them to organize them and make them look good. We lacked him. So when he has come, we are actually looking like a better team. And you're asking, are these the same players we had? Because no one in the world expected that United would play the way they did against Liverpool. People were hoping we would swallow 1 million goals, but the answer to them was one person, Kobbie Mainoo, and whatever he was doing. So we need to build, like I've been saying, we need to build our team. The new Man United, the dream team of Manchester United, should be built around Kobbie Mainoo. Even the signings we think about should be signings that we feel can work well with Kobbie Mainoo. Signings that we believe can understand, are technical enough, because this is a technical player. You've got to raise your game to his level. You've got to be smart to be able to play with him. I liked that Antony seemed to be clicking with him. I liked that I think a bit of Garnacho. Scott McTominay as well looked like he was clicking with him. And that is why we had a decent game, because he organized all these people. So that is exactly what you have when you have a world-class player in the middle. When you have a Paul Scholes in your team, when you have a Michael Carrick in your team, that is what you get. When you have a Sergio Busquets, when you have a Clarence Seedorf. Mainoo is our Clarence Seedorf, is our Sergio Busquets, is our Michael Carrick. He's that smart player in the team. We need to build around him, and that's exactly how we will build our dream team. Well, but of course, as we do say all this, we do have to bear in mind that the January transfer window is just around the corner, and Yeah, United will obviously be making signings, and regardless of whether we shall have confirmed Sir Jim Ratcliffe or not, we still have to make signings. But for me, the first signing we need to be making should be a right back, but also most importantly, bringing back that boy, Mason Greenwood, bring him back to the team. If we do that, sign a right back, hope that all our players get fit, that United can actually push for the title by the end of the season. If we make good use of Jan, because I think there's only one Premier League game in Jan, if my memory is serving me right. So January has not got so many games for us to worry about. But I think if, and let me just check that in a minute. The Manchester United fixtures. Let me see. Let's check the website. So, yes, fixtures. Here we are. So let me see how many games we have in Jan. So December, we've got our next game is West Ham. In London, we've got Aston Villa. We've got Nottingham Forest. Then in Jan, we've got FA Cup. We've got Wigan. Then 14th Jan, we've got Premier League game against Spurs. The only one game we've got in Jan is at Old Trafford against Spurs. So, meaning we have a bit of time to work on, for Erik ten Hag to organize his team, but also to get players fully fit. I will tell you, these injuries that came early for us could have been a blessing in disguise, because we are not so far off on the pile. Yet we've had so many injuries, so we've survived. But you see the difference a single world-class player can make. So, if our players return, and towards the end, and in the final half of the season, we have most of our players fit. Eriksen is returning, Casemiro is returning soon, Martinez will return. We have Maino there. I think actually this United can push. Then, trust me, the other clubs will also go through what we are going. Newcastle already is. Man City too will get injuries. They have their De Bruyne already. They will get more because it has to happen. These injuries will come anyway. They are part of the game. It's just when they come and in what frequency. Do they come 4 at a go? At times they do. We are unlucky we went through such. Or even when it doesn't happen, one comes, the other one goes, the other two come back, 3 go again. But the reality is we've tried to hold it together. And as we speak now, we are 7th with 28 points. And the leader is 11 points ahead of us. That's Arsenal. Liverpool is 10 points ahead of us. Same number of games played. So 10 points are 3 games, 3 wins and a draw. Well, we are not so badly off. Aston Villa, well, they are coming at us. But I think now we can really feel like we can be prepared for them. So you realize that we still have a chance to salvage something in this season and perhaps push for a top 4 and return to the Champions League, where we then can hope and demand for better than what we did in this last Champions League. So yeah, it's not a very bad place we are in. It's not a very bad place Manchester United is in. It's promising. It's encouraging, but of course, we've got to see things happen. We've got to see Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in, so that things happen. There is talk of the Newcastle director of football being one of the front runners to come in. That is what's his name? Ashworth. I think that's the name. There is talk of him coming in, and of course we've been linked to so many, as always are United. United is always linked to so many people. Dan Ashworth. United is always linked with so many people. We are linked with Paul Mitchell. I mean, at a time like this, we are linked with so many people, both players and not players. I mean, it's always easy. Clearly, it's very easy to leak information from United. It's not too much. It's not too easy. It's just too difficult for us to hide or to conceal information, is it? Even from the dressing room. So it's probably right. But yeah, this guy has done a tremendous job with Newcastle. I mean, they have signed good players. Since they got that money. It's one thing to get the money, that Arab oil-rich money, It's a whole different thing to put that money to good use. It's very possible that you can struggle to buy the right players, and you can ask United. We always had the money with the Glazers, but many times we have been spending it poorly. So you want to bring the right director of football to come in and, I think, guide, guide the manager, so that things are not just about the manager. We don't make signings just based on the feelings of the manager alone. That's the issue we've been having. There is been no leadership. That whichever manager that comes in goes home, dreams of players he would love to have dream to work with, and he will go for those. That's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. That's what Van Gaal did. That's what Jose Mourinho did. That's what Eric Ten Hag has been doing, which is wrong. When your directors of football don't assist you, you do your things. And Man United is such a huge institution for you to manage on your own instincts and, because you're a manager. No. I think it doesn't work like that. That's why Arsenal has got Edu, and whichever credit you give to Mikel Arteta, you've got to mention Edu. It's just like it used to be with Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill. All good and bad sides